right up here. All right. Danseuses de Delphes, dancers of Delphi. Lent et grave, doux et soutenu, assise au banc du piano. Slow and solemn, seated on my piano bench, calmly held together, my fingers firm as rubber. Good for pianissimos and jabbing the back of my throat. I utter the music Debussy heard in the movement of waters, the play of curves in the breeze. Softly, Agamedes, Trophonius' words in the foreground. Know thyself, nothing in excess. Messages from greedy hands snatching up the treasury. Do as you wish for 6 days. Then, for the good of those around you, die on the 7th. That too is my prophecy. Caught in the snare, I would also cut my head, or fingers, or colon, to hide the secrets of food and drink for a whole generation, consumed and evacuated in one night. Only the oracle knows how much has to be explored, discarded, before reaching the naked flesh of feeling. Feuilles mortes, dead leaves. Lent et mélancolique, doucement soutenu. Slow and melancholic, gently held by no one but Claude, his music, the silence between the notes. My decay is gravely expressive, a secret brought out piano, pianissimo. My hollow face, melted wax and ash, no light of fever. But gloom, always there, like autumn colors hidden by green, exposed at death. La puerta del vino, the door of the vine. Avec de brusques oppositions d'extrême violence et de passionnée douceur. In the rhythm of habanera, with sudden contrasts between extreme violence and soft passion, I change like the rock at Alhambra, silver by starlight, gold in sunlight, a pearl set in emeralds, chlorophyll canopies above trunks of stone, an arched passageway to the Tower of Justice, the courts of lions and myrtles, power and strength, courage I wish I could bathe in. Surely Claude would find something to do with this, if he were here, rather than orbiting around the sun with asteroids, while I myself extinguish.
And then I have one that I wrote just a few weeks before my mother died at the beginning of this year. So the first is called, guess what, September. Summer hot day fades overnight to risk of frost. Thin sprinkles of curled leaves clatter about the yard while hardier neighbors stay smugly green. Kind, colorful days suddenly, coldly drizzle disapproval on those who thought they could take them for granted. Winds get stronger, aspens creak and groan. Rowans wave languid arms, fingers gemmed with brazen berries. People make plans. September is unimpressed. The second one, excuse me. The second one is called A Long Farewell. Mother is going away. Each day, she slips just a bit farther from us into a tiny, comfortable world where no pain intrudes. The hands that coaxed such beauty from a keyboard are silent now. Her upbringing was in that dark religion that saw sin in every little pleasure. My father, a gifted storyteller, always made her laugh. That was her great indulgence. But all the love that filled her was dammed up. She She dare not praise us for fear we might become proud of ourselves. Although I overheard her praise us to our friends when she thought we were out of earshot. She hesitated to caress children or grandchildren. Could this be sinful? Yet no one in the village needed help and did not find her ready to provide it. She often went to visit her old folks, most younger than herself. A tiny woman, barely visible in a great big car. People stayed out of her way. Then memories ran away, teased her with tattered images. Regret remained, till finally that too began to fade. She's quiet now, eats a little, greets her visitors. The faces she saw yesterday are always new to her. She smiles more easily. We wait.
By now you have gathered that I wheel and deal with religion and spirituality. So naturally, these things have seeped into my poetry as well. In my first poem is titled Red Lotus. Some of these poems I have written some time ago. This first poem, Red Lotus, that I enter into a dialogue with a red lotus. Red Lotus. Oh, the immaculate red lotus, the queen of flowers, the seat of Buddhas. Tell me, this grown-up fetus, the secret of your excellent status, in spite of the trotting trend, that you grow in the muddiest pond, in the stinking ground. Oh, the flawless red flora, the crown of vegetation, the seat of Buddhas. How is that neither mud nor the filthy fluid from which you derive your nourishment touch not your tender petals, nor corrupt your fragrance? Now, thank you. Now, spirituality doesn't mean that you do nothing. I'm also somewhat an activist in my spirituality. Probably you have heard about sleepwalkers, or you know some sleepwalkers. Now, I'm a sleep writer. Now, this poem I wrote in my sleep around 2 o'clock, and then I realized this was so important, I couldn't trust my subconscious to remember that in the morning, so I got up and wrote it down. The poem is titled, To Happen. Nothing happens unless you make it happen. All have happened for you to make it happen. Sit not thinking that will happen, or someone will make it happen, for that will never happen until you make it happen, for it only happens when you make it happen. Now, for me, all happening at the end must be geared towards self-giving. Self-giving. We're born here to give ourselves. The title of this poem is Fashion to Fashion. Fashion to Fashion. Your right hand made me while your left arm cuddled me towards your breast. I am now an earth seed. I am flesh and blood, aware of my puny self and shaping and reshaping you in my own indistinct, murky image until I mature to bear fruit of self-giving. And my flesh is warm enough to incubate another life, the very purpose and destiny that prompted you to fashion and refashion my being in your distinct image.
First poem, it's Moon Eye, to be in English and Portuguese. Moon, moon, lost amid clouds, naked found in my eyes. Lua, lua, perdida entre nuvens, nua em meus olhos. Zen painting. My heart, a steam engine cutting through the empty distances of the north. A diagonal on the white screen of winter, where the images dance as memories of a movie, and the sun beams on eyelashes with the colors of rainbow, and the warmth of its light touches the skin ever so softly, and the shades elongate as a Zen painting that will vanish, but not the delicate presence of your memory on the palm of my hand. For that light, I carries my soul. Breeze of autumn. A dog barking in the distance reminds me of other places, other seasons. A tropical memory in the evening warms me in the breeze of fall, a falling leaf. Wind one. A whole world living in and through me. I became the wind that travels the spaces and agitates the canopies of the trees. The sky became my home, up in the air, above any grounds, lost among languages and symbols that I touch to feel that I belong. 30% bigger than usual. A poem silvering the darkness of the sky. Eyes wide shut. Listen, with eyes wide shut. Snowflakes dripping the sound in a dark street, mourning the day. Requiem. There is this requiem of silence, this chanting at the edge of nothingness, this mundane sound of chaos express, hissing its machines, a never-ending cry of zombies, marching and marching, before the nodding heads of those who care less. This dreadful night gushing from the lifeless throats of babies, whose mouths found only emptiness, in the indifference of sun-dried breasts, standing like dunes of the desert. These bloody sands of time, soaked in punishment and promise for 6,000 years, stepped by restless wandering of the devoted consent to tyranny and servitude, pleasing the insatiable jackals, vultures, worms, forever feasting on the flesh of the future.
Thank you, Mario, for introducing me, also for organizing this lovely evening. I don't know how to fix it. It's good, I think. A little bit better. It's good. Thank you so much. This poem, when I skipped war 1996 and stayed 11 months in Turkey, and the Canadian government sponsored me, and I flew to Canada is about our journey. Home in a suitcase. Istanbul to Edmonton is 17 hours by air. If you go by boat across the Adriatic Sea, the bottom of ocean shortened to waterland. For us, and our home inside the suitcase, from the Bel Sivas to the airport of Istanbul, 13 hours by bus. To fly Adan, the refugee were to depart, some came from very far away, some were sleeping on their chairs, some were preparing their heart to fly, some were preparing their body for living, some were learning English using a dictionary, some were missing home, and others could not wait to get away from home. An evening of late fall, us and our home in a suitcase from Ankara city, we went to Sivas, 7 hours by bus. Not too long ago, we fled civil war to United Nations in Ankara to claim refugee status. Luckily accepted, we were immigrant. At the Canadian Embassy, in Ankara's starving month, in all strict a pool of refugee and the Kurdish displaced from Turkish Kurdistan. Every day, a little Kurdish girl and I walk down 122 stone stairs to downtown. She dreams of selling water to buy bread. I stroll away my challenged feet. I am not storyteller. I speak from my heart. In the dawn, we board the plane. It's the first flight my wife and my 3 children ever had. This is my 4th flight. One is for free. When I was a child, I flew with my kite. The flight held no fear. The second after the reform in Soviet Union, I flew to Ukraine to go to Sweden to claim refugee. In the Kiev airport security, I knew it was a fake visa. My 3rd flight, I was deported back from Kiev to Istanbul. Lonely, empty as my pocket. Our plane leaving the ground, heading into the sky near freedom. The plane is a swing for my children, no fear across their face. The pinnacle of the sky, my wish for plane to reach near God. The plane is heading to the sky. I wish for window seat, watching the cloud, filling it. We're above the cloud, above the rain, above the snow, above the crowds, above the powers. We're passing through the sky to fill full of blue. The blueness of the sky bringing thought of separation. 6 hours in Amsterdam is our transit. looking like the broken wing of a bird, carrying our bags, no courage to leave our gate, afraid of feeling father lost. In Amsterdam, we bought a phone card to call home. You have passed a quarter of the path to exile, to tell them who are still alive, to tell them who may not come back. I am stray in Amsterdam, difficult to memorize everything yet. Again, our plane passing through the sky, leaving the Netherlands flower in its beauty, to go to the farther west, passing through the Atlantic sky, our plane smoothly passing the sky over the Atlantic, faster than the wind, even faster than our plane is our hope. We were in the sky, no sky left to miss. We're following the sunset, it's ahead of us. We're passing through the space to reach our new home in Canada. The home is awake in a February snow. The home has no address in our parkway yet. The home as beautiful as our dream. Thank you.
The longest introduction I've ever had. And so it's show and tell time. My latest publication is in Storm Chaser by Jalal. I sell the books, $50. I only have one copy here. But anyways, I'll start by reading a piece from this book, which was originally published in Writing the Land. And just this morning, I got up at 6 o'clock. I was in Slave Lake, Alberta. Last night I was in High Prairie at an awards night for a niece. And so I've lived in the city all of my adult life, but I love to go back to the north, and it's always very, very special. I love the space and the sunrises and the sunsets. And this piece was written on the way to my younger sister's wedding, and it's called Sketches of Return, February 2006. We leave the dusty city in a gray that is more dull than boring, a drought gray that returns me to my worst fears, that nothing ever changes, is as dreadful as they said it was, like a bad hangover. I try to sleep off as the wind picks up, rocks the truck. In half sleep, a yearning for home, for what is known in the bones, gnaws, as visceral as the smell of Mum's baked bread, for the smoothing and familiar. Is this familiarity something we invent? We reinvent for comfort? To heal a homesickness rooted way, way back in the unsettling settling of this vast land, this last great West? The return comes slowly and always on the land's terms. In lit-up through stops, the dance of snow-lined branches, tire tracks on side roads, in aspen, birch, poplars, straight, glossy trunks, the color of mon petit micelle cover, in blue-black puddled highway, in willow bark's finishing touches, that old-fashioned serious red, a sharp balm in this wintry country. Up the smoky river, the old jolt of abrupt fear of shift in landscape, the danger of curve, of hill, of down and up, the narrow bridge giving in to a vast terror we try to hide, contain in our flat, furrowed, snow-lined fields, or wire-fenced quarter sections in power lines running along the highway. The return opens its arms at sunset in a watercolor wash of blue, under a wash of pink, spilling into a sky full of mauve, in the slowness of the sun's long arc, thinking and what goes on under pond surfaces, hinting at the coming of spring, at long summer nights. There is something always too big here. A long, low cloud breaks the dread of flatness, open to all of heaven. Ponds hold pieces of sky. The horizon will not give comfort. Snow pulls the prairie open even more, spreads it out à perte de vue. Thin trees right this place. A little piece in French now called Mixed Blood. Mixed blood, ce qui coule à mes veines, c'est pas du pur sang, c'est pas du blue blood, c'est du sang d'ouest, c'est du mixed blood. C'est le sang des saisons, c'est l'eau du cric, l'eau de la ditch, l'eau de la fonte des neiges. C'est la sève qui coule, c'est le son des feuilles de tremble, de peupliers qui dansent tout l'été. Ce qui coule à mes veines, c'est le son-sang du vent, dans le linge sur la corde, le son du sang qui vent bon. Ce qui coule à mes veines, c'est pas du pur sang, pas du blue blood, c'est du sang d'ouest, c'est du mixed blood, c'est le sang du bon sens, le sang du non-sens d'essayer de settler cette terre. C'est dans mon sang, ça, c'est tout dans mon sang. I'm going to read a piece from Details from the Edge of the Village, which was part of the Quartet 2009 that we published with Frontenac. And it's about potato picking. I'm fourth of 11 children, and we, right about this time of the year, we always had our field day, and we picked potatoes, and it's in 3 parts. Part 1 is called picking. Picking potatoes has to be done in 1 day. Long rows of frostbitten plant patates gluants pulled by hand and dug with hose. 1 year, the oldest brother digs the rows, pulling a borrowed homemade potato digger behind the tractor. We throw a lot of damaged potatoes around that year, as far as we can, aiming at the creek, at each other. One lands on the mare's head. It is the closest we've ever seen her to getting angry. Her eyes go almost black as she mutters, picks up her glasses from the dirt, inspects them for breakage and places them back, intact, squarely on her nose to the grindstone. Even with Mom's insistence, she won't leave the field, won't quit, insists on staying, pushed by the old fear of starving. Our family field day always ends the same way, with the drive back to the village, twine-tied gunny sacks loaded in the box of the old International, followed by the DeSoto full of dirty, tired kids with Mom overseeing the dragging of the poche de patate into the bin dans la cave and scrubbing the dirt kitchen floor on her hands and knees as our bath water steams up the kitchen. Second part, help. That last year we picked potatoes, the parish priest comes to help. Instead of his cassock and collar, he is dressed in khaki casuals, carries a 6-pack of Coca-Cola for the adults only, which includes the oldest brother. And we see Mom tighten around that. But she drinks, receives the Léni-Grand-Père's offrande, as if it doesn't matter, as if he's really helpful. And we watch, but are allowed to secretly hold contempt. Part 3, reward. When Dad returns from the Esso Cafe with cartons of pop, bricks of vanilla ice cream, cigarettes, we get to concoct our own floats. Let orange, purple, white, brown fizz spill over sides of tall glasses, slurp with straws, burp. For the last while, I've been working on the monologues of my grandmother, written after transcribing an interview that my brother did with her. And her husband, my paternal grandfather, died before I was born, and I have found myself missing him. And I have found that out of writing the monologues and those stories, a certain voice has arisen in me, and it's totally my own. And so I found myself writing a lament for this grandfather, Pierrette Requier, and I called it Lamento. And it's also about finding my French roots again and deciding to speak more French, read more French, write more French. So this is a French piece. Lamento. Ici, on parle par fragments, on parle d'un vent. Les morts sans pierre de tombe flottent encore parmi nous. Les vieux font signe de main vague vers leurs vogues, cherchent ici et là, blancs comme des draps, comme des couches sur la corde, couches de neige, linceul. Comment dire sans sentier et sans repère? Transgresser, imaginer l'inimaginable, tracer le wagon wheel trail des pionniers dans le gumbo, un mot à la fois, un pas à la fois, un tour de roue à la fois. Nous, clairsemés, parsemés, éparpillés, épars et rares, on parle à partir de rien, du choc et de la claque subie dans l'inabordable inédit. On parle dans le vide. A sparseness, a space that stretches into a long ache, spreads scarce into scared. Nous avons été greffés sur l'arbre mince des prairies, souches simples et affilées. We bent like saplings, little whips in the wind, winded by winter, by never-ending weather, by shock of white whips of sub-zero. Le vent du nord, les rafales avalent le bord des ditches, le froid si sec qui fait plisser la peau. Vieillir avant son temps, oui, mon pays c'est l'hiver. Nous avons été désenracinés, transplantés, replantés, imbibés d'absence de peine et de misère. Nous avons vécu pauvreté, peur, vigilance assommantes. Nous avons dû refaire une vie, rapiécer, tout patcher. We sold patches over patches over patches. Nous avons accommodé, raccommodé et on a duré dans l'inendurable. Nous, les vieilles femmes, on a toffé comme des pissenlits, comme des chardons. Et le pépère allergique, squelettique, qui a subi la claque, le choc, le cœur qui bloque, trop tard, il est mort. Shadow, ombre brise, shadow, ombre brise, douce, douce, ton absence. Aujourd'hui, grand-papa me chante. I gained this poem I wrote quite some time ago called Autumn Dawn, and I thought it was quite appropriate because today, as my sister and I were driving back from northern Alberta, between 6:30 and 7:30, there was this amazing opening of space as the sun rose. It was magnificent. Autumn Dawn. At her leisure, she opens the curtains, walks out onto her balcony, and invites you to have a good look. Slowly, she rises, gracefully hushes you in, and charms you as the wind's rush lifts her summer nightgown over her head, slips her sun-burnished arms out of slim shoulder straps, and the grace of its falling leaves you dizzy. That's when she gathers you up, twirls and whirls you like a dervish in all that lavishness, and she holds you to herself, dances you into the motion of the universe and gravity's love of fall, and she whispers in your ear, spend it all, spend it all. Autumn Dawn is a courtesan. And last piece, out of this work with my French, the language of my heart, came a piece called Moi, Je, au verbe être. And the experience that I'm having at my age is that all of my memories are getting fused together, and I am what I am, an older woman. But also in this older woman, there's this little girl, and there's a young teacher that I was, and a young mom, and etc. Alors, moi, je, au verbe être. Moi, je suis petite fille du vent, mais richonne juchée sur les plans du garage que mon père n'arrive jamais à bâtir. Je prêche dans ma chair à moi, comme du haut de sa chair le fait le prêtre, le Père tout-puissant, rempli du grand souffle essoufflé des vents des prairies, pâmé dans mes poumons, je gesticule dans l'air d'où j'origine. Je glosse au lali des mots mères morfondus, mots de femme sainte, sainte saine, Saint, saint, sien, sans mots de femme qui saigne, je délecte des mots, vulve, vagin, lèvres, langue, d'orifice, matrice, oriflamme, orifeu flamme. Femme enceinte à l'étranger, à l'autre bout du monde, down under. Je délire, j'invente, je chante, je hurle, j'ouvre la j'éclose. Syllabes de jouissances emprisonnées, et je la rouvre la bouche, débouchée, embouchure, vers la mer. Merci.
The lighting is quite bright. I don't see any one of you. So maybe it's to the better. And I will be just reading. I read a lot of poetry which is from my Russian immigrant experience. So today I'll do something different. It's a long poem of the dreams and reality of Alhambra. And I think that we all have some dreams and some of us manage to live them. The only thing you need to know here is that Boabdil is the last Moorish king of Granada. What I see is not here. Sounds, voices gone long ago. I hear Boabdil's last sigh. Leaves rustle, white gravel path, rose petals blown by wind, bright ranuncles open, water drops, smell of mirth. Me, my bed, worn out book, dreams of the garden I will never see. My mother's sweet-smelling flowers, mock orange jasmine, northern land, snow falls, white petals behind Boabdil. Rahil the beautiful, La Hermosa, black-haired, bright-eyed Jewish girl, Alphonsus beloved, her dead body stabbed, her silent tears drop on the marble floor of Moorish palace, Arabic scrolls on tiled walls, pink and white roses gaze into the still waters of garden pools. Small boy, their son, white gravel path leads him away. I am 15. I cry, mix the palaces in my dreams. My ghosts live in the green hills of Toledo. I am going to Alhambra alone. White cloud in front of the palace. 6 bushes, clipped, coiffed, leaves rustle. Sweet-smelling mock orange jasmine, the nod to my north from Boabdil.
Sorry.
Sun hits the rows of clipped cedars. Rises sharp, resinous smell into hot air. Lifts whispers from the thick needles. Words of love interrupted fall unfinished on a red shale of the ground. Drops of blood, like ranuncles, just opened up. Myrtle pool, waters of paradise still, heavy visitors of Boabdil, courtyard of lions, fountain, white stone carved, 12 lions, 12 zodiac signs, embody eternity, entirety of time. Water stops flowing, lion's jaws dry when Queen Isabella rides in. Time stops. Eternity dies. Rain drips on Alhambra, metamorphoses into snow. White flakes melt on tiled walls. Faded blue, red, turquoise. Snow whispers into my ear. Women's voices, tambourines sounds, light, airy stone. Snow falls through on a fountain below. Moorish arches, garden sleeps, waters still, gray like this winter day. Snowflakes, white petals covering gaping mouth of Boabdil. I am chilled to the bone. Snow falls white on black, sharp contrast, black and white. Dream and wake up, past and present. There is a divide. I hide in a bookstore. Alhambra on page, maps, dates, names of sultans, reigns details. No whisper, heavy book. Knowledge waits on my mind. Noisy, narrow, crooked streets of Albaicin. Bright trinkets inside tiny stores glow like gypsies' eyes in the heat of the night. Hand-painted fans, clothing, mix of Morocco and Spain. English sounds in crowded restaurants. We do not enter. We only smell, make our way through the rowdy labyrinth. Above, on the hill, among cypresses green, imposing red brick walls of Alhambra, regal in their final, lasting defeat. I find a silver tea strainer in a pile of old junk, a foreign, practical object to buy, out of place in this cheap, cluttery gypsy bazaar, just like carved windows, diaphanous veils, sweet smell of roses, blood in a fountain, soft whisper, gold slippers, Boabdil's tears, white petals, and I. I do not dream anymore about Alhambra. Dreams, once touched, disappear. I do not hear Formosa or see Boabdil. we parted. I look at the tiles in the book, printed, blue, red, turquoise, still pictures of garden pools. Northern land, wind blows white petals from my mock orange jasmine. Thank you.
Good evening. Ella's right, we cannot see anything from up here. So, a little note on Chinese laundry. It's been selected for the Edmonton Poetry Route in honor of Chinatown's 100th anniversary, and it will be on the bus routes. And you're all invited October 2nd at 3 o'clock in the afternoon at Government House. My son-in-law has done the Chinese version, and he's originally from Macau. But there will be other poets and more music and everything, so it's free, it's open to the public. This evening I've chosen to do two pieces, one in the first set and the second one in the other, that are based on my background. I'm Québécoise by birth. I was born in Quebec City. My dad was Québécois. My mother was born in the province of Quebec, in Charny, Quebec, because my grandfather worked on the railroad. And but she is of Acadian blood, and more specifically of Basque blood from the region of Bayonne. So I've decided, my mom is in fragile health right now, she's 96 and a half, to do these two pieces that I'm doing. Yeah, we live a long time, huh? And right, so both of these pieces touch on my roots, and this evening, Jason Kodie, musician, man about CBC on radio who knows everything that's happening, can clue you in on Thursdays and Fridays and let you know what you should be doing all weekend, has graciously accepted to accompany me in Dans mon rêve, in my dream. A few things that people could know that might not know is that the names of places and people in this poem are from French-Canadian folklore and literature. François Paradis, he's the heartthrob in Maria Chapdelaine, Louis Imon's novel. I think he looked like Jason. There you go. And Jack Boyd, he's the devil in a legend about a magical canoe. And L'Île Dernière, this is where a hurricane off the Louisiana coast left no survivors in 1856. So this piece was first commissioned by CBC in 2009, and I've since done a French version. And this evening, I'm going to alternate between English and French, but not repeating, so you just have to follow along, the story goes along. Dans mon rêve, in my dream. Dans mon rêve, mes petits-enfants dansent dans des champs de lin du bleu de la préhistoire. Des ossements de baleines surgissent des dépôts calcaires. Leurs cliquetis se faufilent à travers les niveaux de l'oubli, en détachent des moments calcifiés. Récits gravés dans des eaux nues. In my dream, winds chase ancestors through evergreen tops in a game of tag. Push them to the forefront on a revolving carousel of the past. Dans mon rêve, des visages inconnus se présentent à tour de rôle. Ces diapos, à la fois floues et précises, comme des poissons volants à la surface de l'eau, planent et prennent leur essor, pourchassés par des baleines hurlant leur chant millénaire. In my dream, fishermen push out from Bayonne. Basque women look out from the cliffs overhanging the Atlantic. The sea's siren song fills the men's ears, shuts out the women's au revoir, draws them to the open waters. Dans mon rêve, des hommes illettrés tournent des pages marinières, lisent les courants, les cieux, les vents, le râle des poissons agonisants, l'odeur du silence. In my dreams, ancestors' voices rise in unison. Ah! Fiddlers pluck on chords and heartstrings and twine their melodies around unsuspecting dancers' ankles. Feet dance around icebergs careening down their slick facades. Frosted breaths tell chilled stories that rise up, suspended stalagmites. The chill air setting their images in my mind. Dans mon rêve, mes ancêtres rentrent à la maison dans la chasse-galerie. Ils jouent à saute-mouton dans le canot ensorcelé de Jack Boyd qui les pousse dangereusement proche des clochers d'église. Les bûcherons sont moins sûrs de vagues diablement célestes que des rivières en crue. In my dream, long oars reach down through storm clouds, part rows of ebony pines. On the ground, François Paradis, knocked out by icy pellets. François dreams of Maria, of un petit caribou, a warm embrace, maple sweet lips on his. Dans mon rêve, des galettes à la glace sortent au pas de soldats de la cuisine de Tante Marie. Des estomacs reconnaissants les accueillent. La glace coule sur des mentons, recouvre des revenants silencieux. Du sucré pour colmater les blessures de la vie. In my dream, a drum throbs a beat. A heart's beat. A true heart dancing over la rivière Petite Misère. Little joys, little miseries, triumph over Jack Boyd's hope of an easy victory. Dans mon rêve, les eaux bouillent, l'écume monte comme un beurre baratté. Des vagues s'attaquent à la frontière côtière. Elles ont soif, exigent un sacrifice. In my dream, waves break against the coastline, deposit memories on agates that I pick up and caress, liberating wailing voices. Men, women, children, trapped on l'île dernière. Dans mon rêve, mes petits-enfants ont des ailes. Ils voltigent sur des vagues comme des poissons volants, se posent sur un beluga en attente, enroulent leurs bras diaphanes autour de son museau, s'agrippent de leurs cuisses aciérées. Unis, ils vont de l'avant et guident le retour des ancêtres abayants.
Bonsoir. Buenas noches. Guten Tag. Хорошо. Как дела? Not even one of those.
Добрый вечер.
Добрый вечер. Okay, I'll try that. My name is Jason Kodie. I will be your accordionist this evening. Brought my own chair. What a lovely, lovely event. What a lovely night. Thank you, Mário Flecha, for putting this together. Muchas gracias. Merci, Jocelyne. That was fun. That was the first time we've ever done that. How nice to hear from all of you. And I think that Writers Beyond Borders is a wonderful initiative and a great idea for gathering artists, because let's face it, we're artists in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So we all got to get along, really. Je suis pas un sang pur non plus, you know. I'm of mixed blood, and I play the accordion, which is kind of like, I realized this summer that the accordion is like the Jew of the musical family. It just hasn't found a home, you know what I'm saying? Every culture lays claim on the accordion. So it's a Benetton style instrument. So I'm gonna sing a few songs in a few languages, because I'm Francophone, but I'm also Hungarian. I'm also from the North Edmonton of Edmonton, so I grew up kind of like a redneck. Unwillingly so. I played hockey, and then my dad gave me a truck when I was 16. So I'm also Francophone. I didn't really become French until I got a French girlfriend. Learned how to fight and make love in another language. I think that's how you really immerse yourself, you know? Well, I guess I can swear. You learn how to fight and fuck in another language, and that's how you really get it. That's the truth, Ruth. Alors, je vous présente quelques chansons. But I kind of need to cheat today. I have 2 kids. I had to pick up 4 other kids, and traffic was lousy, and then the network blew on cellular devices, so driving my boogie van through the streets of Edmonton, I didn't get to play much accordion today. It happens. They changed this law on September 1st that you can't talk on a cell phone and play accordion at the same time. So I'm just going to play a little instrumental to warm up the old fingers, then I'm just going to play a song in Spanish, I'll sing a song in English, and then I'll sing a song in French. All right? Ça va? All right. I think I'm going to play a few songs, and then we're going to take a break. Right, Mario? All right, well deserved by all the... Thank you very much to all the poets that spoke before me. Let's have a hand for them. Lovely, lovely to hear you. cielo de mis padres, allá en el cielo de los dioses, y un ritmo muy alegre que los bailan día y noche. Cumbia, cumbia rica, cumbia de mi patria, cumbia, cumbia hermosa, cumbia, cumbia de mi raza. A los cuatro vientos yo las canto con mi alma, mi corazón. Te aseguro que no miento cuando canto esta canción. Baila, baila mi cariño, baila, baila este danzón, qué bonito. Le meneas morenitas vacilo. Cumbia, cumbia rica, cumbia de mi patria. Cumbia, cumbia hermosa, cumbia, cumbia de mi raza. Cumbia, cumbia rica, cumbia de mi patria. Cumbia, cumbia hermosa, cumbia, cumbia de mi raza. Cuatro vientos yo las canto con mi alma, mi corazón. Te aseguro que no miento cuando canto esta danzón. Baila, baila mi cariño, baila, baila este danzón. Qué bonito le meneas morenitas vacilo. Cumbia, cumbia rica, cumbia de mi patria. Cumbia, cumbia hermosa, cumbia, cumbia de mi raza. Cumbia, cumbia rica, cumbia de mi patria. Cumbia, cumbia hermosa, cumbia, cumbia de mi raza. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. All right. I co-wrote this song with a friend of mine. It was based on an experience I had. My sister was, she graduated from nursing in Calgary in the 90s, and there was no work for nurses in Alberta at that time. And so she went to Corpus Christi, Texas. Down there, it's, there were, around her street, it was a pretty violent part of the world, and about 3 months into her contract, she had to get out. She wanted me to come fly down there and help her drive to Vegas. So we went to Vegas. But I helped my sister move in, and while I was there, my friend phoned me. This is before cell phones. How the hell did he get a hold of me? I forget. He knew where I was staying at a hotel. And so he got a hold of me, and he said, "Where are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm in Corpus Christi." And he said, "Well, where's that?" And I said, "South Texas. It's on the Gulf of Mexico." He goes, "Well, what's the nearest Mexican town?" And it turns out it's Juarez, Juarez, which seemed like a really far enough place and pretty distant from Edmonton at that time. So we co-wrote this song together, and it just talks about as much as you leave where you're from, you still bring yourself with you. So ahí, you go. Stay inside than go out with you tonight. There's too much going on around here. I'm online with a friend of mine. Haven't written for a year. She's in Mexico, stuck in Laredo. It's not working out. I guess leaving home ain't something to shout about. Wherever you go, still laugh, you still stub your toe, you still smile when there's sunshine. And still you wonder, is there a better place to go? much different than you left behind. I know it's true. The grass is greener and the sky is more blue. What lies ahead? Sweeter dreams in a different bed. Wherever you go, you still laugh, you still stub your toe, you still smile when there's sunshine. And still you wonder, is there a better place to go? There's too much going on around here. Online with a friend of mine, haven't written in a year. She's in Mexico, stuck in Laredo. Says it's not working out. I guess leaving home ain't something to shout about. Shout about it. Wherever you go, still laugh, you still stub your toe, you still smile when there's sunshine. Still you wonder, is there a better place to go? Is there a better place to go? To go, stuck in the red, better place to go. Ba ba ba. Thank you. Thanks so much. Very nice. I have to say, I've played a lot of music gigs in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and you guys are the most polite audience I have ever played for in 20 years. Good Lord. The last time I played this venue, if I'm not mistaken, was on New Year's Eve. I played in that Graceland tribute, and I was stuck here because it was a 10-piece band, and it was the loudest audience I'd ever played for in 20 years, so thank you so much. You have no idea. I can hear myself breathe. It's really nice. Very nice. All right. I'm gonna play a song for you that I wrote en français. My mother's from St. Paul, Alberta. She's from a family of 13. So I can relate to, you know, those that have passed on their clothes through the lineage. I didn't have that curse, but I have great admiration for those who did. This is a song that I wrote with a band of mine called Aller West. Aller West is, means go west. And we find ourselves as transplanted, well, especially in French in this country. I mean, let's face it, we're just a little island in a great sea. Whenever I go to Quebec, I really encourage them on keeping that language alive. And I do the same with the Anglophones here in Edmonton. Really, keep it up, yo. But anyway, I played with this band called Aller West, which means go west. We were a band that was formed by committee. And, I shit you not. Yeah, we were formed by committee. It seemed that like this person be the great band to go represent Alberta at the Smithsonian. So it was great. It was fantastic. And then we became a band after that by playing a bunch of gigs and getting money to record an album. And this is a tune that we wrote for this album, and I wrote this song because it made me laugh. Oh, there I am. Thank you so much. It made me laugh because I was kind of having writer's block, and I hit the piano And piano's great because it's very rewarding. Accordion doesn't do that. Nothing happens. Piano, you just slap it and something comes back. And I said this line, and I said, Je suis l'accordéoniste, l'éternel optimiste. Which means, as an accordionist, you have to look on the brighter side of life. But I gotta admit that it's been good to me. So this is a song called The Accordionist. At the end of the song, I thought, okay, so I got this line that made me laugh, and then I thought I'd write a song that has, I wanted to write a song that has as big of ending, as big as an ending as My Way. So, you know, I thought I'd shoot high. So what I asked is I asked the audience to clap. I asked them to clap 3 times as if we're going to raise the roof, because what's happened is the accordionist he says, this is what they scream at the gates of heaven. And what they scream at the gates of heaven is the accordionist. And they say it 3 times. And it's as big as Paul Anka's My Way. All right, so I shot high on this one, so help me out if you will. Voici l'accordéoniste. Je suis l'accordéoniste, l'éternel optimiste. Pour vous je joue mes airs et mes belles mélodies. Je suis l'accordéoniste, personne n'a le goût d'être triste. Entre mes mains je garde le monde en harmonie. Dans le métro, il fait plus chaud que dans mon Citroën ennemi. Pas de carquerelle ni l'odeur de poubelle sur ma peau, je ne sens pas la pluie. Quand les phares du train éclaircissent mon petit coin, mon public y arrive, c'est mon tour et je suis prêt. 1, 2, 3, juste comme ça, mes doigts dansent, je me mets à chanter. Je suis l'accordéoniste, l'éternel optimiste. Pour vous je joue des airs et des belles mélodies. Ce n'est pas lucratif d'être l'accordéoniste. Ma symphonie au doigt pour vos oreilles. Les nuits sont longues au Bluebird Lounge, le menu change comme des saisons. Il y a du whisky et les femmes qui sourient quand elles voient la boîte à 1000 bidons. Dès mon enfance, ma mère m'avait dit, un jour je serai un star. Et elle sera fière, car même juste hier, ils ont monté ma photo dessus du bar. Je suis l'accordéoniste, l'éternel optimiste. Pour vous je joue des valses et les tristes rhapsodies. Toujours en déficit, le pauvre accordéoniste. Entre mes mains je tiens le monde en harmonie. En harmonie, en harmonie. Je suis l'accordéoniste, l'éternel optimiste. Pour vous je joue toujours un sacrifice d'être l'accordéoniste. Voici ce qui crie à l'entrée du paradis. 3 fois, 3 times, here we go. L'accordéoniste. L'accordéoniste. Mesdames, messieurs, on applaudit. On applaudit. On Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much. My name is Jason Kodie. We're going to take a little break. I believe we'll be back with more wonderful poets. Cheers.
Beginning of the 20th century. He wrote, the pieces that endeared him to me are the preludes. Many years ago I was playing one of his preludes and I didn't want to be playing, I wanted to be writing, so I just left the piano and started writing. And years later, a series of poems based on his preludes have come to fruition. And the reason I picked having a narrator dealing with bulimia was because I wanted a connection between my narrator and Claude Debussy beyond them both being musicians. And Claude Debussy actually died of colorectal cancer. So that was sort of the link. As she progresses through her bulimia, she has intestinal problems, and that's going to come to light in just a few seconds. So sorry for the interesting topic. I hope no one suffers from indigestion. So, la terrasse des audiences du clair de lune. The terrace of moonlight audiences. Lent, un peu en dehors. Under the moonlight, Claude haunts for neither pen nor light. Yet still he beckons me to my rest, my peace. He alone makes me worthy, raises me above myself. Eating, shitting, deception no longer beautiful. My cut side, my excrement in a bag. 90 years after death, he is my good spirit, my better self. His voice, mine, still audible in the moonlight when we listen. Waxing or waning, I do not know the difference. Whether the sun or the moon is first, in the sky I still see Debussy, Alhambra, as the asteroids and stars I need to understand that there is nothing in the moonlight. No passing figures or things without shadows. No deceptions to confine this piece to the page, nor my eyes' waters to their sobbing sprays. La cathédrale engloutie, the sunken cathedral. Profondément calme, dans une brume doucement sonore. It is a dawn mistaken for a sunset. This deep calm, this harmonious haze, this legend, I am the princess who was never cut out to be a saint. Corrupt and selfish, I open the door to the storm to flood the fires of my soul. With an expression that becomes more grandiose, I sink while Claude rises from the damp ruins of my life. Like an echo, I am parts of all that came before me. Music, food, intestines, oblivion disguised as art. I am the most beautiful deception of all. Les fées sont des exquises danseuses. The fairies are exquisite dancers. Rapides et légers, caressants, rêveurs. Quickly and lightly, the food enters my mouth, passes teeth, tongue, esophagus, slides to where it is merely the instrument of some destiny, digestion, absorption, defecation, but I try to free it from barren traditions that stifle it, force it onto my body into fat. I know it's absurd, incomprehensible. Cobweb threads of cells spun into tissues, glands, entrails that can be cut, patched, paralyzed, worn down, bled daily over time. Still we aspire, Claude and I, to the freedom which nature has given us, sylphs of ebony, playing upon the spider's wire of good food and good wine. We are soulless but mortal, hopeful that we shall remain a deception, lest we become utilitarian, sad as a factory, eating and shitting for nothing but life. Thank you.
Hello again. This next poem is a little bit derivative. When I was 8 or 9 years old, I'm not sure how much, I remember reading a short prose piece, a description, and somehow or other it swirled around in my head and came out again about a week ago. And the first and last lines of this poem are derived from that piece, and I sort of stuck a poem between them. It's called The Coming of Night. It was no pilot who suggested that night falls. An airman knows it rises. First, the valley floors and rivers lose the sun, and those who live there see the sunset pass through every stage of beauty, from glorious riot of color through softening and tenderness, then fading red to orange, while the water at their feet lies dark and solid. Next, the prairies drown, long shadows deepening, slipping into dreamy, painless rest. The hills and mountainsides still catch the light, shine and glisten, rose red and white, while the dark creeps up their flanks like a caress until they too sink into night. The moon makes an appearance, brightens, shines silver as a promise that tomorrow will arrive. Long after the land has settled down to sleep, the pilot and his craft still swim in light. Next one is very different, just a bit of a slice of life thing. It's called I'm Hurting Here. The restaurant is busy, full of people enjoying their meals, enjoying one another's company in a cheerful buzz of conversation. One voice drowns out the others, loud, high-pitched, nasal, irritating. She's using her friend as a combination of unpaid therapist and butt of accusations. Goes on and on until we wonder if she will ever eat. A very brief pause and then, I'm hurting here! It comes out as a scream and I finally turn and look. And the face is pinched, hard, flushed, and miserable. Whatever else it is, that scream is telling the truth. The friend sits patient, looking down yet not embarrassed, accepting all this, accepting her companion, loving, kind. The last piece, a very short one about something that I think a lot of us share. I call it worrywart. She's 20 minutes late. What if there's been a crash? What if I can't do this new job? What if I've forgotten something important? What if my tax bill goes way up? What if my car breaks way down? What if I meet a road rager? What if? Doom, catastrophe, despair, havoc, desolation, ruin. My whole life has been nothing but a litany of disasters. That never happened.
I would read 3 other shorter poems in my second round. This first one here, I was not planning to read because I have read this poem on earlier occasions elsewhere. But it was suggested that I should read this again. And this one is titled An Accent. an immigrant and then as a new citizen, you encounter this, word accent all the time. An accent. This is a story, so you have to listen to the story. An accent. To the pond behind my yard, I saw strolling a frog and a toad. They were there on that rainy day to breed, but the two soon began chatting their creed. Said the frog, "You, a bastard buffonide, you disturb my peace with your croak." Protested the toad, "You, a rascal ranide, you scare me to my death with your squeak." Friendly chatting now turned to a dispute. They leapt across, belittling each other, and there crept the water snake, moving softly, swallowed the frog, proceeding next to the toad. Now, back to my spirituality. This one is titled Labeled Love. Labeled Love. I will run into the problem of accent here. So, those of you who know the right way to pronounce that word, if you can forgive me. Because I have to mispronounce that to get my poetic license there. Labor love. Morning and evening for 5 years, I tirelessly wandered in that boulevard where read the billboard, "Love grown here, watered by faith, fertilized with hope." But I roamed and never saw love growing taller than sympathy, the wheat, flowering sturdy and breeding speedy. In market, I saw sympathy sold in packet labeled love. Now, what do I do these days? I enjoy simple pleasures like listening to poems of other poets. So this one is titled Simple Pleasures. A strong cup of coffee, the plain black, with nothing added into it. A shorter story to explore the collapse of my strong youthful dreams. And a simple seat to consume the free providence of the strong morning sun. These are what I seek these days in the dusk of my crumbling life, that miss those many birds in hand with its focus on one in bush. Thank you.
Walking the dog. I drink the sands brought by the wind, hitting my face as little bees and needles. I pour water from the well of my eyes. I taste the air around me. The hands of the whirlwind dance with my body. My skin is burned by the flames of the sun. I swallow the sounds of everything. The rain washes my face and hands. I am in the open, walking. Just walking time, the dog who owns me. Dad herring, hanging myself as a drying fish under the sun of a cold environment, like a herring who has known the pleasure of swimming the vast ocean, who now lies mute at the taste of the wind with big open dead eyes. Between lines. Can you see the invisible lines of this poem written with the dew of my eyes? Can you feel the pulse of these lines written with the living blood of my heart? Can you taste these words made of my flesh? Can you smell the silences written with my scent? Can you feel the warmth of my breath in these verses? Can I touch you with the weightlessness of these lines? Can you sense, can you feel it? Have I ever, through words, moved you? Did I reach you? Did we share? Do I need to know? Should I know? Tell me, my heart, did I touch you? Tiger Moon. Nothing can be more terrible than life itself. The tiger sinking the sharp fangs in the baby's flesh and disappearing in the jungle. Cuba. In the island, stepping the sands of revolution, time calmly came and, looking at my face, said, "Hi, stranger, I have known you for too long. I know you better than myself. What are you looking for here? What did you expect to find? The newborn from a Leninist school? The one free and capable to stand with others without a patron telling what's better?" I looked at the face of the God of all. No words were necessary. Still we remained, our eyes lost in the blue sea. To the lost tomatoes. A lonely tomato sitting on a busy road while the world spins under the tires of happy trackers. The Mist of Petropolis. This will be in English and after in Portuguese. It's a very old poem. The Mist of Petropolis. There it was, that bird's cheek, dead and wet on the cold ground, the silvery mist of Petropolis upon the blackness of a boy's hair. Estava lá morto, no chão molhado e frio, o filhote de passarinho, e a chuvinha fina de Petrópolis nos cabelos do menino. That's it.
This microphone has to lay down a little bit for me, I'm sure. Just I want to let you know, thank you so much again, yeah. Oh. Thank you. Thanks. When I became first Writer-in-Exile in 2007, so I wrote my prison memoir. I went back to my very dark time in Saddam Hussein's prison. So actually I wrote in Kurdish, but I was very lucky. I found a very good translator in his professor in Pennsylvania University, and he translated. And John Rawson wrote forward for it, and it says, "The man in blue pajama is a generous creative act for which I thank him." So it's available. It's published by University of Press, University of Alberta Press. Now it's available at University of Alberta Press, also at Indigo and Chapters, if you like to read it. Yeah. It's very short poems. It's written in Kurdish. It's 124 pieces. My friend Douglas is a poet. He translated some of them, about 80, I think. So I brought 9 of them. Fear of separation, never leave me alone. The moon over battlefield is so sad. I missed that day I sent you love letters with the wind. The colors between us were lost. The place I am going to, like beauty, has no address. If I got lost, you can't find me in a terminal. You and me become one in a poem. Don't shoot me while I dream. Thank you.
But I have a couple of things to say. Lit Fest is hitting Edmonton on October the 12th. It's from October the 12th to the 23rd. And 2 other Francophone writers and I are going to be doing a gig at the Artery on October the 13th. And there's going to be French in it, but we're also going to vary our poems in both languages. The other thing I wanted to say is that I've just spent 3 months with a sister of mine living with me who had a stroke in April. She is the sister next to me, and 5 months ago she lost all of her words. And she said all of my words and all of my numbers were gone. And she's now speaking, and we did all kinds of speech therapy type things. And she's just resumed therapy with a Glenrose today. And so it's been interesting. And the other, so what I want to say about that is we are so lucky to have words, and it's such an honor to be in a crowd like this and to be hearing poetry in different languages and to be partaking of all this talent and to be nourishing ourselves with images. I wonder what happens or how people who lose their words dream. My mother lost all of her words to Alzheimer's in both languages, and I want to read the poem called Halloween Day 1999. My mother has been dead for 10 years, and as I was preparing for today, I thought, okay, maybe I will read this one, seeing as Halloween is coming and we always talk about Halloween costumes and stuff like that. Halloween Day 1999. It has snowed this morning. The sky is the color of the Blessed Virgin Mary's robe, holy, sad blue. I sit by my mom's bedside as she falls in and out of sleep, tosses and turns, groans and moans and whimpers. Sit up, ramrod straight like Pépère, and she says, "Je suis en train de tout perdre, I'm losing it all." She utters as lucid as in her prime, knowing, nailing her truth on the head, and we know it too. We have to think of placing mother in a home. This prospect is about as appealing as diving into a swimming pool drained of water for winter. I want to throw glasses against a concrete wall just to hear the shattering, the sharp, rippling rim of spilling shards in this stretched, strung despair. But sorrow, in her costume of rags, makes a grand entrance as my heart is already tuning in to a new beat, to the slow speed of Alzheimer's drum. Et mes chaudes larmes se répandent, and I too am bleu ciel, the color of Mary's robe. Thank you.
Nebulous. Have you ever heard your soul screaming at night? I don't hear mine. I sleep. I don't know where my soul goes, who it trusts. Our only connections are dreams. The glimmer of light in a yellow window. A sea of white Mayday petals on brown floor. Puddles of melted snow under red rubber boots. A bus on Leningrad's August asphalt, ochre buildings in sight. And a moving tarmac at a grey airport, and a whisper, don't leave, in my mother's voice. My father's hand reaches for me across the still lake of the night. I wake up. The world around me palpable and sharp, but sometimes, out of the corner of my eye, I see some transparent, flickering shadow, some strangely twisted mouse suspended in air. Striped cake. Up in the dark autumn sky, there's the planet I left behind. A little dot on the arch of heaven, like any other, indistinguishable from the rest. Which one is mine? The one with the birthday cake in the middle, with candles my mother lights. Striped birthday cake she has baked for me. White layer for the day, black for the night. Buttercream oozing its angelic origin, smelling vanilla like my mother's love. Please, give me a piece now. White for happiness, black for despair. Have you always known I would have to live? Who has the happiness? Who has the despair? I live them both, juggling all these long years, happiness of being, despair of being apart. Buttercream oozing, this time your tears. They are mixing with mine as I bake in my kitchen the striped black and white cake. Black is the earth in your grave. White is the stone I put on it. Send me some message from our planet. Tell me how to make buttercream once again. Thank you.
Leg. There. Okay. And I have the pleasure of introducing to those of you who do not know her, Marie Sewell, a dear friend and Edmonton's Poet Laureate. She's the author of Fifth World Drum, and she is also of Mi'kmaq, Polish, Scottish, Anishinaabe.
Scottish by association only.
By association only. You see, it's very, very complex. So I'm keeping up the, going along in the theme of the Acadian origin. And Memram Cook is a poem that was translated for me by Elizabeth Paul of Eskasoni in Nova Scotia. So you're going to hear French, English, and Mi'kmaq. And to the Acadians, the Mi'kmaq were really saviors, because when they were put out at sea or chased off their land in 1755, a lot of them hid in the woods for 7 years and didn't come out for 7 years because they were afraid of being shot on sight. And it's the Mi'kmaq who helped them live off the land and taught them how to do it. So this is a tribute to our First Nations.
And that's why we're cousins, you know.
There you go.
7 years, you gotta figure.
There you go. So we are. And Ernest is going to, Ernest, who is Acadian, is also has Maliseet and Mi'kmaq blood. So he will accompany us on the native drum. So Amalamcook, or Memramcook, which is a little village in New Brunswick close to Moncton.
Mi'kmaq akwe nuj, pemelekitajik, mekwek nakamikwak, pemekwa tichtipu, makwatwa titaktan, wenikitan kwitijik, amalamkuk, amalamkuk, amalamkuk.
L'air sent bon le salin. Le parfum des sapins enfile nos pas à la queue leu-leu sur un lit d'aiguilles duveteuses. Sea air invades our nostrils as fir boughs thread our steps on a bed of soft needles, cushioning our hopes.
Tonikwe, Wunjus, Pesitwek, Stockholm Wunjaka Elekite, Stockanak Mikegek, Manuk Atu, Chut, Minal.
Micmac, Acadien, terre rouge sang, cours d'eau complice, unis contre l'ennemi, à Memramcook, 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 Memramcook. An Indian woman parts the reeds. Her trained eye scans the shore, spots the redcoats approaching, and silently clangs a warning.
Ullusk, Ejikaliktik Mad, Sesukuk, Binakash, Ilokaptik, Kaskik, Nimiachik, Me Kutatetik, Mech Kawitajik, Kim Kwa, Kim Kwa, Kim Kinua.
L'Indienne scrute le rivage. De son œil averti, aperçoit les habits rouges à travers les roseaux. Elle sonne l'alarme silencieuse. Mi'kmaqs and Acadians walk on blood-red earth, follow the river friend, one against the enemy. At Memramcook, Memramcook,
Kiranujik, Wanujik, Kimiusimkudjik, Kisna Muldjik, Ikwasitajik, Tasokido, Pitukwa Suldjik, Uklaman sa Pasultitak.
À pas feutrer, les Acadiens pourchassés se tapissent contre la falaise, se confondent au perdreau et survivent. The hunted Acadians steal away on soles of hide, become one with the cliffs, camouflaged for survival. Mi'kmaqs and Acadians walk on blood-red earth and follow the river friend, one against the enemy at Memramcook.
Mi'kmaq Akwe Nuj, tajik, nekwat makamikwa, nemakek, what the me did, si plumat, what the what, tak, tan, when it get a weed, chip, imalam book, amalam book, amalam.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention to you that Jason Kodie has a CD at the back called The Blessed Courtesy. He is very humble that he didn't mention it.
Invite all the poets up. We have a special surprise for our guests, and we want to thank you for coming and supporting us this evening and for supporting poetry in Edmonton. Waxing or waning, I do not know the difference.
O sol da tarde pousou nas folhas e o outono se fez em cada uma. The evening sun touched the leaves, fall in each one.
These are two lines from my poet friend Brian Chung of Edmonton, from his book titled Scratches on the Air. To find oneself as alone, as in a tight cave, with nothing to lose but this need to say nothing.
This one's called Elise. A touch of mischief drives away cold. Winter flees from granddaughter's smile.
I didn't prepare it. I still have power to love. They still have power to hate.
Vivaldi's concert for two violins. Wind in marked grasses, gold, green, copper tilt of glitter. Sudden ink blue of water in motion, silver flashes.
The snow banks of my childhood wet over. I did not grow up. I moved to the other side of the planet.
This poem is simply entitled Guernica, in memory of the village in the Basque Land that was bombed during the Second World War. I'll read it first in English, and then I'll do my very best to give you the Basque version. Guernica. This name inflames and saddens my heart. Centuries will know its misfortune. We can no longer say the names Numancia and Carthage without saying in a loud void Inushkadi, lying in its ruins, Guernica. Guernica che choratzen I hunsen daut, ish oreg I hocha, mendek yakinen dute haren zorigaicha, Numanse to Cartagosh es gaiche minsa, Gorachi erran gabe, Ushkadin handatsa, Guernica, Jean Dierse, a.k.a. Iradjeder, 1938.
May I say, as the person chosen for the next 2 years to be your Poet Laureate, I'm standing here tonight with a lot of mixed emotions and a lot of pride. I would just to invent the world, to interpret the world, to capture a dream in your own first language. How many years does it take? And then to find a new point of view and to bring all of those stories and bring them into another language. It's beyond me. It's fantastic. So like a buffalo, I'll wade in. This is a piece of a piece. The first piece that I did for City Council is in 5 languages, none of which I speak very well. It's called Way Stations. We bow at the same way stations, all around the circle of the year. It's for our sister cities, so the languages are French for Gatineau, Japanese for Hokkaido, which technically is not a sister city but a sister province, but we have cities all over Hokkaido, twins to cities all over Alberta. Autumn is for Korea, another long-term sister trade partner of Alberta, and for Wonju City, where I was once privileged to go. And the Russian, oh Ella, this is what you're going to have to help me with, is for Yamalonenets region, which is our sister region in Russia. Not a lot of people know that. I sure didn't know that before. So, a line from each season. Printemps, élan soudain de souffle, lilas. Natsu, the summer. Ka no bairi no tsuru no kanashi uta, the sad song, mosquitoes lament. Autumn. Sauliodum talagan biol, the frosts, the darkness, fallen stars. Zima, winter. Holod, etot otchayanij kelvayir. This cold, such a tireless suitor. Thank you for letting me play too, and I stand in front of you by stage accident and in awe of you by design. You're amazing, and thank you for letting me be part of this. Good night.
Please do not run away because we have door prizes to draw. So Anne, if you could bring the box of little tickets, take your little blue tickets out.